Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting of council for the Township of Malahide on March 6th. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. First, we'll look at the agenda. Any additions or changes? Deputy Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I have a couple things I'd like to bring up over events over the weekend that pertain to the township.
And there'll be a couple of announcements. I think under announcements, Chief Spoor, you'll be able to do a quick update on Port Bruce under announcements, and then under announcements as well, the Police Academy and a message of support on to our community regarding the tariffs situation. And any other announcements or changes to the agenda? Okay. So we have the resolution to approve the agenda as modified.
That the March 6, 2025 regular council meeting agenda be approved as modified.
Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Serna moves, Councillor Lewis seconds. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, so let's move to announcements. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I did skip that. Thank you. Before announcements, we have disclosure of pecuniary interest. Deputy Mayor Widner.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I have two, the quarter revision for the Diversnick drain and the quarter revision for the Ashton Street drain.
So noted. Thank you. And now for announcements. Chief Spoor, can you give us an update on Port Bruce?
Yeah, thank you, Worship. So we had an exciting day yesterday. It started earlier in the week with we put out a watch and warning for the flood early, trying to make sure people had lots of time to prepare. They decided to put it out at 4 o'clock on the day before, just earlier in the afternoon. So they didn't think there would be anything happen until after midnight anyway, but they don't want to be making that phone call at midnight to everybody where people won't get it and step up and get it in their beds into the water if that happens to be the case at night. So they called me first and we decided that was a good idea. We put it out early, so give people some idea. We were concerned that the ice was very thick in town and very hard to get out. So and we didn't know how much rain we were going to get. So luckily we got a little bit less rain than we expected. So, but it did rain a lot and to get going. So Calfish Creek, Malahide, and everybody was looking and watching and seeing where things were going and trying to keep people updated yesterday. And it started clearing out at the Jamestown Bridge just before midnight anyway. So it cleared out there. For a while there, you can't see where it is because the creek goes off in the farmers area and stuff where you can't see where it is. So we didn't know where the ice was at that point. And then later in the morning, it started coming up through Pineo Flats and stuff like that. And catfish were watching. It was breaking up and it was doing well because it was going slow. So we kept up the thoughts that it was going to keep going slow for us. And it did start breaking up just before 2 in town and built up the water. It was getting pretty close there for a while and got stuck. The first little bit came out and went out, no problem. The operator was there from Higgs all day. And I told him he didn't have much to do until the ice came out. We didn't want to have to wait to call him. So it was a matter of time there. So he got going there and kept pushing the ice down as it needed to be. And when the ice did come through, it come all the way up there, stopped at the bridge, and then it stopped at the North Erie Marina. It made a few other stops on the way, but the water kept building up. And the people along the North Erie Marina there that got flooded out pretty bad last year, it was pretty close to there for them again. Once it did get going again, it would move 15, 20 feet at a time. The good news is the spillway and the area where the ice went, the ice didn't go over on the rock area where we cut the trees down. But the good news is when the water was pushed back behind it and the ice was stuck, the water was running over the pier to the lakeside, which was great. So there's a lot of water going out that way. So the water did come up and up over the edge of the pier. It was that tight, and then it started going out. And at about 4:20, the ice, the last of it was starting to go out. And it was just a short bit of ice there. Actually, the water level dropped in the creek 5 feet in 20 minutes. So And then she was good. So it did come over a little bit on Collins Street and stuff. It did come over a few of the houses there in the area. I don't think there was any damage to their houses or anything, but there was some water there. Once the water went down, it quickly went out. Public Works had a pump rented on the side, so there was water coming up that one drain in the park area, a couple of drains, and started to flood the street. So they did put that pump in and pumped it back out into the creek, which worked well. Like we had said before at a couple other council meetings, the backflow preventers are on the creek side, and when all the ice comes by, it breaks them off, so that it starts pumping water up drains. The pump was easily kept up there in town, and the streets actually were, but within 20 minutes they were dry again, so it worked well. So there were some tense moments, and I don't think we have any more issues unless it gets really big cold snap again. I don't think we'll have any issue because all the ice all the way up through the water course is gone now. So we're looking good. Lots of trees, lots of stuff went through, but it cleared out nice. So I've had a few people comment today, come in and stop by, and they were pretty happy. So hopefully everybody's good with it this time. So
Congratulations to everyone involved. I'll open it up to see if there are other comments or questions. Councillor Lewis?
Thank you, your worship. Yeah, I just want a big kudos to Jeff and Catfish Creek. There was residents that knew that there was 24-hour watch. These guys were up all night long watching and actually monitoring, and came forth to the shop to me and said, hey, we've felt good about this year. Everybody did the much they could, and removing the ice prior, they said actually they believe that had a lot to do with it. So the work that was decided to be done prior to what the event was a very good decision on Jeff's behalf. So yeah, as far as the residents are, they're very pleased, very, very pleased. So thanks everybody for what you've done for the residents, and thanks for the decisions you've made to move the things you had to move to accomplish what you had to accomplish. So thank you.
Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Through you to Jeff. Good job. That's to everybody involved. It was a great job. You look certainly relieved yesterday when I talked to you about 4:30. I'm just curious, how thick did the ice get?
the ice was at the bridge last week, so they were doing ice measurements up until last week. Catfish was, so they would send me ice measurements like a weekly report where they'd measure at 4 or 5 spots along the water course. And ice last week still was 12 inches or so at the bridge. 8 inches at right at Rockerport Bay there, where like the beginning of the pier. Now the ice did, as it warmed up a bit there last week, it did start thinning out a bit, but yesterday when the ice come through, the ice that probably came around the bridge area, it was still 12 inches thick, because we got like it was higher than my feet. It was a foot thick. There was lots of spots that was 8, and it wasn't like deteriorated ice over time. If it's gets weaker, you can see it's all candled out and stuff like that. It was like solid clear ice still. It was hard. We got lucky. It broke up nice. So that little bit of warm up, slow warm up helped so much the week before. Then we had that cold snap, which didn't help us, but it was the rain, and it was a good timing we had to, sometimes you got to be lucky to be good too. So there was a few things there that were in our favor for luck as well. So the weather definitely did help us a bit there. So yeah.
Thank you, and thank you again. And I want to thank the residents as well. I think this was a good demonstration of a one team. I always say when you live in Malahide, it's not a spectator sport. You're part of the team, and you have to communicate, stay informed, show preparedness, take responsibility for the risks. And I feel like that there was really good communication, I think, in the community, and good preparedness. So I think the tone of the communication and everything. So I think we're on the right track there. So I want to thank all the residents for their involvement and their participation in this one team effort. And I think there's been suggestions of when everybody's rested and at the end of the season, to even when things go right, to still do a postmortem and analyze what went right and what, so that there can still be lessons learned or on things that can be repeated and things that can be improved. So wonderful. Congrats again to everybody in Public Works as well. No rest for the wicked after after flood, then it's snow and ice again the next day. So back on the roads and salters and everything. So yes, it's very good to see. Thank you.
I did want to mention the contractors we have hired too. They were very good this year. The operators are great. They did a great job keeping the ice moving and stuff. And again, the public works and the roads guys that were hauling the ice away and stuff, it was like it wasn't organized. It went well, so it was good.
Okay, so next on the announcement, I wanted to loop back on the Citizen Police Academy. So the applications for those who want to participate, they're available at the township office or at the detachment office on John Wise. So the program again is 9 weeks on Thursday, so it starts March 20th. And so applications are open. You have to submit them on paper in the office until March 14th. So I encourage everybody to participate. So it is free for a participant. Lots of good information from the specialty units, forensics, K-9, major crimes, and much, much more. So that's that. Any information, just reach out to the office. Next, I just wanted to express my thoughts and on behalf of the township regarding this, I don't even know what to call it, but this unfolding situation with the tariffs. And I noted statements that I'd heard from the Canadian CEO of Kobo, and there were some really good thoughts in there. So inspired by that, I'll share this with you, that we all wish it hadn't come to this, but here we are. And while the developments, and it's by the minute developments, every hour it changes, the developments around the U.S. tariffs unfold, and their impending impact has been a real concern for Canadian businesses, and Malahide is no exception. While we go through this tumultuous time, many local companies are going to get hit hard by these tariffs, and we need to stick together, do everything we can to support them. People are going to need help, and we will all need to step up. So let's do everything we can to keep domestic businesses healthy and build a new domestic capacity. The good news is Canada, Ontario, Elgin County, Malahide, we can do this. We know how to knuckle down, get things done. We know how to make friends and keep them, and we know how to stick together. So my message to our residents and businesses is this: if you need help, if there's anything we can do as your municipal government and your partner in this time, please don't hesitate to reach out. We are a close-knit community and we are one team. So that's on that. Are there other announcements, Deputy Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to congratulate MVP Rob Flack on his reelection. Rob's been a great supporter for Elgin, Middlesex, London, and we look forward to working with him. If you do see Rob, don't be shy about mentioning we need to keep the OPC in this area for sure. I also attended Karen Vecchio's retirement party. It was great to hear all the positive accolades she received. Karen did a great job as our MP and will be sorely missed. Karen even took the time to meet with some Malahide residents when we had some problems, and she had to explain the difference between federal and municipal responsibilities, and that did help a lot. I was very impressed she did that for me. I thank Karen for all her work and wishing her a great retirement. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Is that all for announcements, I believe? Okay, so we'll move to adoption of minutes. We have the minutes from our previous meeting, which was February 20th. Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, motion.
That the minutes of the regular council meeting held on February 20th, 2025 be adopted.
Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Leach moves, Councillor Wilson seconds, all in favor? That is carried. Okay, next we move to a few public meetings. We'll start with the Court of Revision for the Versnick Drain. Okay, so Clerk Adams, can I have the resolution for council to sit as the Court of Revision, please?
That the Council of the Township of Malahide does hereby appoint the following members to sit on the Court of Revision for the D. Versnick Drain. Mayor Dominique Giguère as chair, Councillor Scott Lewis, and Councillor Rick Cerna.
Mover and seconder? Counselor Lewis moves, Counselor Cerna seconds, all in favor. And everybody can vote on that. It's just for the council to, okay, there you go. That's carried.
That the Court of Revision for the D Versinic Drain be called to order at 7:15 PM and that Dominic Jiguer be appointed chair.
Mover and seconder. Counselor Lewis moves, Counselor Cerna seconds, all in favor. That is carried. Okay, so we have Mr. Spreet with us. We have an overview of the proposed drainage works and the related assessment schedule, please.
Sure, thank you, Your Worship. I hope you can hear me. The link on my end isn't very good. Everybody's breaking up, but anyways, I'll continue. This drain tonight, the Versinic drain, the D Versinic drain, is simply a drain for the developer. He wanted to construct or has two severances along Imperial Road, and as a condition of severance, he's required to install this drain to provide an outlet for the lands. 100% of the costs are assessed to the developer, so it's completely developer driven. I don't expect to see any appeals. I haven't heard of any appeals. So it's pretty straightforward when it comes to the assessment. Are there any questions?
Thank you for that overview. So let me just check if there were any written comments or objections received.
No comments were received.
Okay, and is there anyone else at the meeting wishing to make a comment? Doesn't look like it. And are there any questions? I'll open it up for discussion, members of the court. Here are none. So the Court of Revision members will now consider the resolution to either confirm, so I guess we'll confirm the rates presented by the engineer. Clerk Adams, may I have the resolution, please?
That the Court of Revision members for the D Versinic Drain do hereby accept the recommendations of drainage engineer John Spree and further does hereby confirm the drainage assessments as outlined in the report of the drainage engineer dated November 1st, 2024.
Mover and seconder. Counselor Lewis moves, Counselor Cerna seconds, all in favor. That is carried. And Mr. Spree, can you go over and provide the information on the appeal process, please?
Well, since there's no appeals, the appeal process ends at this.
Thank you for confirming that. So Clerk Adams can have the resolution to close the Court of Revision and move to the next court.
That the Court of Revision relating to the D Versinic Drain be adjourned and the council meeting reconvene at 7:18 PM.
Mover and seconder. Counselor Lewis moves, Counselor Cerna seconds, all in favor. That is carried. Okay, next on the agenda, we do have another Court of Revision, this time for the Ashton Street drain. May I have the resolution for that?
That the Council of the Township of Malahide does hereby appoint the following members to sit on the Court of Revision for the Ashton Street Drain: Mayor Dominic Jiguer, Councillor John H. Wilson, and Councillor Sarah Leach.
Mover and seconder. Counselor Cerna moves, Counselor Lewis seconds, all in favor. That is carried.
That the Court of Revision for the Ashton Street Drain be called to order at 7:19 PM and that Dominic Jiguer be appointed chair.
Mover and seconder. Counselor Leach moves, Counselor Wilson seconds, all in favor. That is carried. Mr. Spree, could we have an overview of this proposed drainage works, please?
Sure. This drain is also the result of a development. The owner, K2 Custom Homes, was building a duplex on Ashton Street and required a legal outlet for the lands. It's tributary to the Simpson Drain. So what we're proposing to do is install a new drain down the road to service these two lots. We're also providing a little bit of drainage for the township. With respect to the assessment, the two ratepayers are the municipality or the township they're paying and the developer. There's other people in the watershed, but they're not assessed costs because this is a developer-driven petition. Are there any questions?
Thank you for that. And were there any comments received?
There were no comments received.
Okay, and there's nobody in attendance who wishes to add comments. Don't see anyone online or in the chambers. I'll open it up to Board members, Counselor Leach.
Thank you through you, Madam Mayor. So there's no assessment currently for outside of the developer, but in the future, everyone in that watershed will be assessed for maintenance and or repairs.
Through your worship, yes, that's correct. There are some contributing lands to this drain, so they are assessed some future maintenance costs, but there's no construction costs assessed to them.
Thank you.
Thank you for that question. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, so the Court of Revision members will now consider a resolution to confirm the rates presented by the engineer.
That the Court of Revision members for the Ashton Street Drain do hereby accept the recommendations of drainage engineer John M. Spree and further does hereby confirm the drainage assessments as outlined in the report of the drainage engineer dated November 7th, 2024.
Mover and seconder. Counselor Leach moves, Counselor Wilson seconds, all in favor? That is carried. And Clerk Adams, may I have the resolution to close the Court of Revision and resume regular council meeting?
That the Court of Revision relating to the Ashton Street Drain be adjourned and council meeting reconvene at 7:21 PM.
Mover and seconder. Counselor Leach moves, Counselor Wilson seconds, all in favor? That is carried. And I think that's the end of your presentations, Mr. Spree. Thank you for being with us. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Have a great evening.
Next, we'll move to another public meeting, this time for a rezoning application. I will call the meeting to order with the following resolution, please.
That the public meeting relating to the zoning bylaw amendment D14 Z01-25 Wenninger Farms Limited 49888 Nova Scotia line be called to order at 7:22 PM.
Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Leach moves, Deputy Mayor Whitner seconds, all in favor? That is carried. So this is a public meeting as required by the Planning Act to allow any person an opportunity to make representation with respect to a proposed zoning bylaw amendment relating to property located at Concession 2, Part Lot 14, Township of Malahide, and municipally addressed as 49888 Nova Scotia line. Clerk Adams, what method of notice and when was the notice given to the public for this meeting?
The public meeting was advertised in the Amer Express for 2 consecutive weeks on February 26th and March 5th. In addition, affected property owners within 120 meters were hand-delivered a notice. Sorry, we're not hand-delivered a notice, but rather mailed a notice at minimum 20 days prior to the meeting.
Thank you. And Mr. Steele, can you provide an overview of the application and let us know if there have been any additional comments received?
Thank you, Your Worship. The owners of the subject lands have previously gone through the consent process to sever a surplus farm dwelling for surplus farm dwelling. This was received conditional approval on November 27th, 2024. As a condition of consent approval, the owners are required to rezone the lands to prohibit a new dwelling on the agricultural parcel, as well as rezone the proposed severed parcel to reflect its use as primarily a rural residential lot. Staff reviewed the application and had no concerns with the proposed rezoning, and no comments have been received from members of the public or agencies on this application, and so staff are recommending the application be approved. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to questions from members of council.
Thank you. Is there anyone in attendance? Okay, there is no one in attendance for any further comments. Any member of council have any questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Whitner.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Through to Mr. Steele. On page 14, an existing barn is located 2.5 meters from an interior lot line while the bylaw prescribes a minimum side yard with 5 meters in the A4 zone. Can you just speak to that, please?
Through Your Worship. Yes, so currently there are several existing buildings on the property prior to severance, and these are mainly either used as storage buildings or in fact, old barns. The owner is proposing to sever the property in such a way that it would pass between 2 existing structures. And so the effect of those site-specific provisions are simply to recognize the location of those existing buildings to this new lot line. And the intent also being that it would reduce the amount of land that would potentially be added to the proposed separate parcel. And staff have no concerns with that proposed reduction of those setbacks to those existing buildings. But they would have any kind of negative impact on each property.
Okay, thank you for that. Does that clarify sufficiently? Okay, thank you. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, if there's no further discussion, then please be advised that any person wishing further information regarding the passing of the proposed bylaw amendment should contact the clerk. So we can proceed with the adjournment of the meeting.
That the public meeting relating to the zoning bylaw amendment D14 Z0125 Wenninger Farms Limited 49888 Nova Scotia line be adjourned at 7:26 PM.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Glinski moves, Councillor Cerna seconds, all in favor? That's carried. And now the consideration of the planner's report.
That report number DS 2507 entitled Zoning Bylaw Amendment Application of Wenninger Farms Limited, Co Civic Planning Solutions, Inc., relating to the property located at Concession 2, Part Lot 14, Township of Malahide 49888 Nova Scotia line be received, and that the zoning bylaw amendment application number D14 Z0125 of Wenninger Farms Limited relating to the property located at Concession 2, Part Lot 14, Township of Malahide, and known municipally as 49888 Nova Scotia line be approved for the reasons set out in this report.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Glinski moves, Councillor Lewis seconds, all in favor? That is carried. I think these are all your reports, Mr. Steele, this evening. Thank you for
Thank you.
being
Have a
with
good
us.
evening.
Enjoy the rest of the evening. Next on the agenda is delegations. So we have the pleasure of having Leah and Colleen from Springfield Library for an update or annual report, I guess, on the Springfield Library. Come on up.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Giguère and members of the council. My name is Leah E. Pisano, and I am the branch supervisor for Springfield and Belmont Libraries. And I have served these communities for 8 years following the retirement of Maria Smith. Joining me in presenting this report this evening is Colleen DeVos. She's a library branch assistant and Elgin County Library's longest serving branch assistant. Colleen has been with the Elgin County Library for almost 35 years, and in years past has also served as the deputy clerk of the Village of Springfield and a building attendant for the Township of Malahide. During our report this evening, we will provide information on the branch hours and staffing, as well as highlight some of our annual branch performance statistics. We will discuss library programming, partnerships, and outreach activities. We will briefly outline the library's use of the Malahide Community Place and its role in our success. And lastly, we will list 3 goals we are addressing as a library team in 2025. However, before we begin, Colleen would like to share a brief story about the history of Springfield Library.
Good evening. So once upon a time, 133 years ago, in the small village of Springfield, a group of 30 citizens came together to build a library. Over time, the library grew, it grew, and it grew, and it grew. From being just a few shelves in Dr. R.W. Shaw's drugstore to an upper room in the old framed village hall. In 1949, the library became part of a new municipal building with its very own 300 square foot space. In 1966, the library became a branch of the Elgin County Library System. Since then, the little library that could has seen many changes and improvements and has remained a cornerstone of the Springfield community. From our humble beginnings, the Springfield branch has seen tremendous growth under the progressive lens of the Township of Malahide. First, as part of a new community services building from 2001 to 2010, and then moving on up from our Main Street roots in 2010 to Malahide Community Place, where we are now located and continue to be a vital part of the community. Please take note of the slide of dating back. We have a dozen former library supervisors who have served with official records dating back all the way to 1917. Maria Smith, as I'm sure many of you knew her well, was and is, unless Leah stays long, the longest serving supervisor with Elgin County with 28 years of dedicated service.
Thank you. Getting to know your branch. The Springfield Library is part of a 10-branch Elgin County Library System. Springfield Library is currently open 3 days a week for a total of 23 hours. Our branch operates with a staff complement of 1 full-time supervisor, 4 part-time library assistants, and a part-time library student page. Our team serves both Belmont and Springfield branches of Elgin County Library. However, 4 of our staff are or were Springfield residents. This hometown advantage allows us to better meet the needs of our community as we have more insight into what programs and services best support them. Moving on to the annual branch performance statistics. This graph illustrates the number of in-person visitors for all Elgin County Library branches. In 2024, Springfield Library had 17,082 visitors. And although we have limited hours of operation, we are currently the 5th most visited branch in the county. The average number of visitors that we serve daily is approximately 111. In 2024, we finally exceeded our pre-pandemic annual branch visits. This graph illustrates the total number of physical items borrowed from the Springfield Library branch. In 2024, 16,079 physical items were borrowed. This accounts for 7.26% of the circulation across the county last year. And again, this is the first year we've surpassed our pre-pandemic circulation. See, she's a fantastic assistant. Our branch program and attendance. This graph illustrates the total number of participants in library programs. In 2024, we had 6,260 participants attend 200 programs throughout the year. This is a complete recovery post-pandemic, and it is the highest level of programs and attendance on record for the Springfield branch. There are a number of factors that contributed to this increase, including the engagement of community homeschool groups, offering biweekly library visits to the Springfield Public School, increasing the number of drop-in and passive programs offered in branch, and engaging in a greater number of partnerships and with outside community agencies to offer more programs that serve all age demographics from early on to VON. Programming, partnerships, and outreach. One of the key directives of Elgin County Library is to meet the diverse needs of our communities by offering programs for all ages, facilitating partnerships with local organizations, and engaging in outreach with local groups and schools. Programs of note include our annual Lunch and Learn. This information session that educates older adults about this information session educates older adults about a variety of different topics. This year's event is going to be on April 24th, and it's going to highlight Parkinson's disease as well as the role of caregivers. This year, we will once again offer visitors free seed packets in order to keep our community in bloom. This is part of our branch's seed library program. In 2024, we gave away 375 packages of seeds. And finally, our homeschool hangout program has been one way that our team has diversified to become more inclusive as a library. This monthly pilot program had over 564 homeschoolers participate in our monthly programming between March 2023 and November 2024. But in 2025, rather than offering a separate library-based program for the homeschool group as a whole, we are now supporting homeschool subgroups who are actively booking space at Malahide Community Place on a monthly basis. These groups still visit the library to access resources, materials, and our staff offers story times to complement their program. This is a perfect example of how Township of Malahide and Elgin County Library can support each other to best serve our community.
We are so very fortunate to receive generous community donations from local service clubs, local businesses, and community members. Community donations allow us to increase the range of our programs to a level that we normally would not be able to offer. For example, the Springfield Swans are fully covering the food costs associated with the Lunch and Learn program. And through partnerships with these local service agencies and organizations, we've been able to also offer a variety of programs. One of our key programming partners continues to be with the St. Thomas Elgin Early On Center that provides support for programs targeted to children aged 0 to 6 years and their caregivers. In 2024, the weekly family story time offered at the Springfield branch by Early On, in partnership with library staff, had over 370 participants. Early On also offers infant massage, infant sign language, and Zumba programs. Another important partnership has been with the St. Thomas Elgin YWCA. Semi-annually, we partner to offer Red Cross Stay Safe home safety and babysitting courses to our community's youth, and they are always very popular. These programs are facilitated by YWCA staff. The use of the community room in Malahide Community Place ensures that programming partners can offer valued community outreach programs outside of our library space. Whoops. The exceptional support we can't express our thanks enough that we receive from the township staff at Malahide Community Place. It builds a team approach to serving our community, and it's mutually beneficial as we have more visitors come into that shared space. And if you want to take a look, we have some pictures from some programming that we've offered over the years that support not only the young, but the young at heart. And if you look closely, you might see a couple familiar faces who assisted us in 2024 with our Forest of Reading celebration at Springfield Public School.
Looking ahead, the goals that we have established as a library team for 2025 explore additional opportunities for outreach and partnerships that meet the needs of our diverse community and varying demographics. Continue to improve engagement with our Springfield homeschool community by partnering with private groups that book Malahide Community Place to provide programming, resources, and services that support their goals. Continue to work with the Township of Malahide to increase our visibility within the community. Digital signage, TV display in the Malahide Community Place hallway, program posters on the website. Increase in our visibility results in higher branch attendance and new visitors to the Malahide Community Place.
We would like to leave you with a quote that spoke to both of us. We know what to do and we know how to do it. But the bigger question is, why do we do what we do and why does it matter? By Simon Sinek.
To answer the bigger question, we do what we do, and why it matters is that we are passionate about public library service and how impactful our programming and services are to every visitor who attends the branch. Some days we might be the only people that someone has actually connected with. And ultimately, it is about community connection, engagement, and supporting the well-being of our visitors and our community that matters most. And we invite you all to visit the branch, chat with library staff, and discover some of the programs and services we offer, and see for yourself that the work that your library, your Springfield Library branch is doing in your community. We'd like to thank you very much for your attention this evening, and we truly, truly appreciate the opportunity to be able to present at this evening's meeting and for your ongoing support. We have an information package for each of you that we'd like to leave you with, and we welcome any questions you might have about your Springfield Library. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time
Thank
to
you.
give us an update and overview and a refresher of just how vibrant libraries are. They're really a community hub. It's well beyond books, right? We know that now, but I'll open it up for comments. Counselor Cerna.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor, I have a question. How much does our Amish community use the Springfield Library?
Do you want to speak to that? Okay. See if we're on the same page. The Amish community, having once been the supervisor at the Elmer branch years ago, definitely we're seeing more of the Amish community in the Elmer branch. We are supporting more of the homeschooling, which are we would call them the Christian, Mormon,
And Low German.
and Low German. But specifically the Amish, that's not a large part of the demographic and definitely more supported through the Elmer branch.
Okay, is there a place for them to park their buggies at the Springfield site?
There used to be.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Cerna. There was, you're right, I haven't driven by, but there was a hitching post along Whitaker and the gravel portion of the parking lot, kind of directly east of the Ball Diamond. So,
Sorry for interrupting. Is there one there now? I don't care if there was one.
that
I
last
asked-
time I looked, it was there, but I'd have to go literally over there right now to look, and
Well, okay. see,
we'll follow up for sure, though.
Okay, because that could be half the problem. If you got nowhere to park your vehicle, then you're not gonna go there. And I'm just asking, because that could be part of the problem. They would utilize it if they could park their buggy. But you know, you're not gonna go there if you got nowhere to tether your horse. And
Sorry.
Well-
No, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just basing it on past experience. At one time, there used to be quite a large blood donor clinic that was held, I believe, bi-monthly. And we would have a large number of Amish visit Malahide Community Place by bus. They would arrive. And so we would have, I don't know, between 50 and 60 come down to visit the branch. And the beautiful thing about the Elgin County Library System is that they can take their books out in Springfield, they can take them back to Elmer, vice versa. I think one of the disadvantages of Springfield is that perhaps the Amish are shopping in town. And, so they might make that library a part of their experience when they visit Elmer, which Leah can speak better to.
The Tuesday market.
Yeah.
The Tuesday market is a big draw, and our numbers, we always knew to staff heaviest on Tuesdays to accommodate and support in Elmer.
It could be. I'm just wondering because most of the Amish are Glencoe and College Line, which isn't that far from here. So, nice buggy drive
Yeah.
on a nice summer day.
Sure. And I've had the opportunity to visit some of the families there personally. And I do think that it might be a one trip to town. We're going to get the groceries. We're going to go to the drugstore. We're going to go to the library. So, but just my own thoughts.
And it could be. It was just a thought. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further comments? Deputy Mayor Winner?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Very impressive numbers, and thanks very much for this presentation. There's a lot of things that I didn't realize. That's a lot of stuff you're doing there. So congratulations on all
Thank
that stuff. And just 35 years, Colleen, like I can't imagine how old you were when you started, probably 10.
Yeah, right.
Anyway.
Nope, but thanks.
Anyway, keep up the good work. Those are really impressive numbers. And if that can be put out there, a lot of people don't understand how much you people do. So thanks for what you do. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Any further comments or questions? Oh, Counselor Wilson.
Hello, I'd like to commend the library for all they do for the community. And great job, Colleen. That's a lot of years being in there. Kudos to you. And thanks to the Swans for their donations as well. They do a lot for the community. And it's great to see the number of usages that the library gets from the students in Springfield Public School. And I can say that both of my children have taken the babysitting course in the library. So keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you again so much for all that you do. And yes, we want to keep to see those numbers growing.
We
Wonderful.
appreciate it. Thank you for your time, everyone.
Okay, enjoy the rest of your evening. Okay, yeah, so may I have the resolution to receive the presentation from our delegation this evening?
That the presentation from the Elgin County Library regarding the Springfield Library branch be received for information.
Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Leach moves, Deputy Mayor Widner seconds, all in favor? That is carried. Next we can move all the way to new business. This evening, there's a report on the council remuneration and expenses. Director Boylan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Municipal Act requires us to report on council's remuneration and reimbursed expenses annually each year. This report simply satisfies those requirements. Thank you.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, may I have the resolution, please?
The report number FIN 2502 entitled 2024 Council Remuneration and Expenses be received.
Mover and seconder? Mover and seconder. Counselor Lewis moves, Counselor Leach seconds. All in favor? That is carried. Next, we move to bylaws. We have the Wenninger Farms rezoning.
That the following bylaw be now read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. 2512 Wenninger Farms rezoning bylaw.
Mover and seconder. Counselor Lewis moves, Counselor Glinski seconds. All in favor? That is carried. This brings us to Committee of the Whole. May I have a resolution, please?
Resolved that we do now move into the Committee of the Whole.
Mover and seconder. Counselor Leach moves. Counselor Wilson seconds. All in favor? That is carried. So for the committee this evening, there are 2 items in business for consideration. We'll begin with the municipal bylaw enforcement fees update. Mr. Russell.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Council. Before you, I have report DS 2507. On January 30th, Shane Turner provided a report to council. This report to council basically informed council a little bit about bylaw enforcement and also talked about administrative penalties. Over the past 5 years, I've taken several training courses on administrative penalties and have looked at administrative penalties for Malahide. And I don't feel that it's the best course of action as we don't have very many fines for the municipality. So we have proposed that we move into what's called user fees. And the proposed cost recovery shall be for the cost for a multi-step compliance, re-inspections, remedial actions, use of staff resources, additional enforcement related actions, property standards appeals, and noise exemptions. These cost recoveries shall apply to property standards, land management or lot maintenance, zoning, noise, and noise bylaws primarily. The goal is for cost recovery is an education first program, minimizes the legal burdens, prioritizes public safety. And how it works is the first notice is free. We send out a notice of violation, basically informing them of the bylaw, and it is free. If we go back on the re-inspection and the work has not been completed, and they haven't applied for an extension, they'll be charged $150. The third and final step is basically a notice or an order, final notice or an order. Again, we go back, check to see if the work has been completed. If the work has not been completed, then they will be charged the $200. The municipality has ways of addressing immediate safety concerns. So if there is immediate safety concern, we won't be doing the multiple steps. We'll just go right into an order because it is a safety concern. And how it works is the person gets multiple chances of resolving the issue. And if the municipality has to move into cost recovery or doing the work, basically what will end up happening is if the work is under $2,000, they'll be charged $30 or $300. So a perfect example of this would be someone not maintaining their grass. We send out 3 notices, and if they're not maintaining their grass, we'll go in and we'll cut that, and then we'll have a $300 service fee on there. And the reason for that is the municipality doesn't want to be a property management company. Over those 3 notices, it could be a total of 6 weeks for that property owner to actually maintain their grass. So if they look at it and say every 6 weeks, the municipality just goes in and spends $100 on the grass, well, that's cheaper than me maintaining it. So we don't want to be in the business of maintaining people's property for them. We want them to be responsible in maintaining their own property. And remedial action over 2,000 would be the cost plus 15%. A perfect example of this would be, let's say a building has cladding that is falling, brick that's falling down onto the street. And we've requested that the owner resolve the issues, and that they don't. So ultimately, because it is a safety issue, the municipality has to do the work. So if the municipality does the work to resolve the safety issue, what ends up happening is we're acting as their GC, their general contractor. So that puts us in a position where we have to deal with a substantial amount of staff time corresponding with the contractors, getting multiple different quotes. And it really takes the responsibility off of the property owner, and it puts more legal expense on us. So by doing the 15%, the cost plus 15%, it's telling the owner that we will do the work if we have to. That's not what we want to do. We want you guys to manage your own property. But if we do the work, that it will cost you 15%. And this this extra 15% is basically to mitigate future legal issues, and also to mediate staff time. There's a proposed fee of $75 an hour for complex bylaw enforcement issues that could involve bylaw, building, zoning. This could involve somebody. So unfortunately, because there is so much involvement, I think that staff's time should be recovered. Some additional related action fees would be a title search. So if we have to do a title search on a property, the cost is around $50. Corporate searches are the actual cost plus $25. To register or discharge an order on file is $350. If we have to register an order on title, it's very, very expensive, as we have to get a lawyer to register it and to discharge it. So the municipality should not be paying for that. Also, executing a search warrant, $500. The reason why we have that in there is because often when there is a bylaw infraction, we're trying to gain compliance voluntarily. And if we are at a point where we need to have a search warrant to get into a building because access has been refused, it is a substantial amount of work to get into the property, and also for legal too as well. And a locksmith, which is cost plus 15%. So for property standards appeals, we do have a property standards bylaw. Unfortunately, at this time, we do not have a property standards committee. The act does state that you have to have a property standards committee and that they must be paid. So the appeal of a property standards order is $500. That money would basically would be used to paying the members of the committee, and also staff time for preparing the reports and the presentation to council, or to the committee, sorry. The appeal to Superior Court for $800. This would only apply if they went through the process of the Property Standards Committee, and the committee had stated that they're going to uphold the officer's decision, and that person wants to make an appeal to Superior Court. At that point, we've already given them a lot of opportunity to one, comply with the bylaw, and then two, to comply with the bylaw, and often before orders are even issued, there is notices issued before that. So a lot of times before that, bylaw has worked with the people to gain compliance. There's a noise exemption portion of it, which is in our current bylaw. It's proposed to be $400. It's very common for municipalities to have noise exemptions bylaw and a fee associated with that. After further review from some questions that came in and comparing other municipalities, I think revising the fee to $150 would be the appropriate action. And my summary is the existing process without cost recovery is minimal direct financial consequences for non-compliance until court action. Court costs are borne by the general tax base. Fewer incentives for owners to comply quickly. And the new process with cost recovery will mean graduated fees for repeated non-compliance notices, meaningful cost recovery so taxpayers aren't subsidizing neglectful owners, and the township is not being used as a property management company or a project manager. Stronger educational components up front with warnings and opportunities to comply. Potentially faster resolutions of hazards, improving public safety, and lower legal bills, as you won't have to attend court very often because you won't be issuing fines. I'm ultimately, as an enforcement officer, my job is to gain compliance, and I don't want to be in a position where I have to issue fines. I would rather work with the people. And in my personal experience, being a bylaw enforcement officer for 18 years, I have noticed quite a bit of success with these user fees. These user fees are not used as penalties. They're used to work with the people and gain compliance. So in the notices, it's clearly spelled out in the notices that if you do not comply with the first notice, that it will be $150 reinspection and so on. So I'm going to open up the floor for council, any questions you guys may have, and we can go from there.
Thank you very much for this overview and this recommendation. I'll open it up for comments and questions. Councilor Lewis.
Thank you, through your worship. Nice report, Matt. I was in the office the other day and spoke to Nathan just briefly on it. And yeah, it's a win-win. Like, I like seeing change, and this is a streamlined change, and I can't see anything negatively coming out of it. Like, you're there on complaints of constituents, and when nothing gets done year after year, well, you haven't really achieved anything other than the expense that went along with that. So this is a different way of looking at it, and it looks like it's a very good way of looking at it. So yeah, I would love to see the change and see it implied, because you start talking staff time and lawyers' fees, it doesn't take long to add up and get nowhere. Like, you've gained no ground at all. So I like the idea, and I think it would be definitely supportive to try it, because if it doesn't work, well, then you try something else. But at least trying something different than what we're doing is a change. And change is a good thing usually if it's done properly. So I like the idea myself. The report was great, and thanks for a little help from Nathan for me to understand a few things about it. So it was really good. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Glinski.
Madam Mayor, earlier in the report, it was stated that if the cladding from the building fell on the road or wherever, that there'd be they would go to the contractor or to the owner and proceed from there. My point is, if it falls on the road, do you have the time to wait to go to either the owner or the contractor, or do you just get it off the road? I've had some experience with this, so I'm quite aware of what's going on. Thank you.
Through your worship, typically what would end up happening is when bricks shale and they fall onto the sidewalk below, what we would typically do is we block off a portion of the sidewalk, and then provide an opportunity for the owner to resolve the matter. In this type of issue, we would issue an order immediately, because there is a public safety matter. And that being said, if the owner did not resolve the issues, then that's where the municipality, like, we can't leave a fence up there block for months on end. We have to resolve the issue. That's where we would have to hire a contractor. And personally, I've had to deal with this scenario in Tillsonburg, and it was very, very expensive. We had to work on a building that cost $15,000, and we didn't have any cost recovery mechanisms in here. And there was probably about 20 hours between contractors back and forth and staff time checking things out. So it can be very laborious and very expensive. And the municipality, unfortunately, had to eat that whole cost because they did not have recovery mechanisms. That's the reason why there is a difference between over $2,000 and under $2,000. We want to make sure that we're not managing people's property for them for nothing. And that also is another incentive too as well, that if they realize it's going to cost 15% over on top to do the job, if the municipality does it, they're going to do it themselves. They're going to get a contractor. And that's exactly what we want them to do.
Thank you for that. Yeah, it does seem to shift in the right direction. Ultimately, the goal is compliance, and then it seems fair as far as then cost recovery. Councillor Wilson.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I appreciate the approach that Mark is taking, and I will say I haven't received any phone calls or complaints since he started. So the less those that I get, the better. So good job.
Thanks. I like hearing that.
Thank you for that. Deputy Mayor Widner.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Through to Mark. Mark, do you know other municipalities, do they mostly go the cost recovery route?
Through your worship, it is a very common way of recovering costs. And yes, a lot of municipalities do it. We just recently brought it into Bayham too as well. I know that Tillsonburg has it. Multiple different municipalities around the area have it too as well.
Okay, thank you for that. And cost recovery is probably the fairest for all the ratepayers, and we strive with that with other departments and other things. So thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Counselor Cerna.
Yeah, I was just going to comment that that's the way of the world. The offender pays. It shouldn't be any other way. If you screw up, you pay. So cost recovery, that's exactly how it should be. Thank you.
Counselor Leach.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to thank you, Mr. Russell, for presenting this. Unfortunately, some people need some more incentive than others, and this seems to be a gentle approach to get them into compliance, which is beneficial for everyone.
Thank you. I did have a minor question on going back to the noise exemption. I think it mentioned that it required council approval. And I'm wondering if that's really necessary. And sometimes that might just impede even the timing of things. So I don't know if that's, doesn't sound like it's critical to the what's being proposed here, but just something to note and maybe review. Any thoughts on that?
Through your worship, the noise bylaw basically requires that it goes through council. Some municipalities have what's called like a minor and a major noise exemption process. So if we are to do an exemption, or sorry, if we are to do an amendment in the future, I would probably suggest that splitting them out between a minor and a major noise exemption. So a minor noise exemption might be a wedding, where staff could have approval for something like that, where it doesn't have to go to council. Whereas a major noise exemption could be a construction project that lasts several months. So that's one thing that I would probably suggest in the future is when we do an amendment to the noise bylaw, that we separate a major and a minor noise exemption request. That way, council is only receiving the large noise exemption request that could be like a construction project for a long period of time, not a one-off wedding, stagger, doe, or party.
Okay, so that, yeah, that might be something to consider when we'll put on the to-do list for bylaw reviews. Thank you.
There's a few of them that I want to do.
Great, great. And we appreciate your proactive analysis of what can be changed and improved, as Councilor Lewis mentioned. It's nice to see. Any further questions or comments? So this is in the committee of the whole. That means we have 2 weeks, and we'll invite the public also. This is who it affects first and foremost. So our residents will invite all of you to review what is being proposed here, and then it will come back in 2 weeks for consideration by council. So if there are no further questions, then thank you, Mr. Russell, for the report, and we'll go with the motion to receive it.
The report number DS 2507 entitled Municipal Bylaw Enforcement Fees Update be received, and that the committee recommend to council that staff be directed to amend the user fee schedule to include the changes proposed.
Thank you. Mover and seconder. Councilor Lewis moves, Councilor Cerna seconds. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you again, Mr. Russell.
Thank you and good night.
Have a good night as well. Next in the business for consideration is a discussion on the proposal to include O Canada as the start of council meetings. I believe as a temporary, I think what is being proposed, and I'll turn it over to Councillor Glinsky, who brought this as a suggestion. What is being proposed is as a temporary measure, as a gesture of solidarity with a little bit of the turmoil that's going on. Councillor Glinsky. would you like to-
Madam Mayor, thank you. I I realize that singing O Canada at the beginning of the meeting is not a big deterrent to anyone, but at least it is something, some kind of pushback, something that we can do, because otherwise the roller is going to roll over all of us, and certainly don't want that. And I think it is very important to push back where you can, and this is a small pushback. It's not a major thing. I, for 35 years, had the national anthem played in school before we started school. So I'm quite familiar with having it, and I'm quite familiar with abstainers, and that's the way it is. I think it's important that we do this, and I hope that I get a little bit of backing here from the rest of council. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Glinski. I'll open it up for comments, questions. Deputy Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Through to Chester. Chester, it never hurts to hear O Canada, and I totally support what you're doing. I also remember from my school days, you had the most fantastic voice, and if you would lead us every time in this, it would certainly be appreciated. But no, it's a good thing. We're pushing back a little bit, much as we can, and I'd like to see the flag in the background if we do this. I'm sure it'd be easy enough to do. Well, maybe I shouldn't say that, but I'll leave that to Allison. Thank you.
Councilor Cerna?
I'd like to agree. I probably won't sing because you don't want to hear me sing. And what's that?
I won't.
No, you're gonna lead. You're supposed to lead. But the other thing is, I don't know the French words. So if it's just English, I'll do my best. But I have no problem doing that at all. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think what is being proposed, like I said, is a temporary measure, so we wouldn't change our procedural bylaw. And so then what we would need to decide is, so we know when it starts, but then what would be the criteria for ending? If it's temporary, that means there's going to be an end. So Councilor Glinski, do you have a suggestion as to what would satisfy and qualify for the end of the pushback?
My pushback would end when the tariffs are eliminated.
Would everybody be in agreement with that? Okay. Any further discussion? And I'm looking to Clerk Adams, see if you have a resolution to that effect then?
That the committee recommend to council the inclusion of O Canada as a temporary measure at the beginning of council meetings to be removed when the tariffs are removed.
I'll do it. Mover and seconder. Councilor Glinski moves, Councilor Cerna seconds. So again, this is in committee of the whole, so we have 2 weeks, and so council will officially consider this, and who knows what could happen in 2 weeks, because at this rate, it changes every hour. So, so we'll be able to revisit this and pass it officially if we wish to at our next meeting. So, thank you. So I'll ask for the vote. All in favor? And that is carried. Okay, next we have correspondence. There's the highlights from the county meeting and the AMO watch file. Any comments? Deputy Mayor Widner?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to comment on the county administration building. There's a big hefty price tag for some repairs, but if you take the time, walk around it, it adds up. There's over 500 windows in this place. The bricks are starting to leave the building. The doors and windows are getting tough. I mean, this thing was built in 39. It was kind of revamped like 40 something years ago. So it's a big hit, but we've already committed by putting elevators into it for probably that kind of money. So, and the building does generate revenue, so it makes things a little bit better. We get over $500,000 a year in revenue out of it. So I don't know what our choices were. You could sell it, but you'd never build one for anywhere near that. So if anybody comments on it, that is why. And there's some good reports on it, but 500 windows don't come cheap. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. And yeah, it was good to see that thanks to the revenue, it almost breaks even when it's amortized over the 20-25 years. So But it's needed. Any further comments, questions? Okay, the resolution, please.
Be it resolved that all correspondence items be received and filed.
Mover and seconder, Counselor Surna moves, Counselor Wilson seconds, all in favor? That is carried. And that's the end of the committee of the whole.
Resolved that we do now move out of committee of the whole and reconvene the regular council meeting.
Thank you. Mover and seconder. Counselor Leach moves, Counselor Lewis seconds, all in favor? That is carried. We don't have any closed session items, so we can move to confirmatory bylaw, please.
That bylaw number 2514 being a confirmatory bylaw be given first, second, and third readings and properly signed and sealed.
Mover and seconder, Counselor Surna moves, Deputy Mayor Widner seconds, all in favor? That is carried. And last, adjournment.
The council adjourns its meeting at 8:15 PM to meet again on March 20th, 2025 at 7 PM.
Mover and seconder. When are we meeting again?
March 20th.
March 20th, 2 weeks from now. Okay. Can I have a mover and seconder? Deputy Mayor Widner moves. Counselor Surna second, all in favor? That is carried. Want to wish happy International Women's Day. And coming up, and thank you to Petals of Love for the lovely gift and recognition to Counselor Leach and myself. Thank you. Have a good evening.